Hello mortals, I'm the booktube goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And it is time for another game of Shelve It or Shove It, the completely superficial way to pick books for my TBR based solely on their cover. Now I am going to be looking at the Goodreads new releases for July to pick one book for August. So first up is Young Adult. And the first book is a Rainbow Rowell book. I've heard a lot about Rainbow Rowell. I haven't read anything by this person, but the title is Anyway the Wind Blows. And it has two attractive men, I guess, or young men. And like I said, I haven't read anything by Rainbow Rowell before, but this cover doesn't really give me much, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is Gods and Monsters by Shelve Mahurin, a love that will burn for eternity. And I guess the cover's okay. I like the sort of gold glitter, and there's silver around it in the font and a silver snake. But I don't really get an idea of what this book is about, so I'm going to shove it. Next up is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. And there's a Asian woman, I think, on the cover, and there is a crane or cranes, and I'm not really getting a great idea of what it's about. I'm going to assume it's fantasy. It's not speaking to me, therefore I'm going to shove it. Next up is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. Fear will find you. This looks like a horror novel. It looks there's a young man on the cover, and it looks like there's a ghost coming behind him. And I actually like this cover. The character has a lot of personality, and he looks scared. I think I'm going to shelve it. Next up is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. A heart is a dangerous thing to steal. There is a woman on the cover with a dagger. I'm going to say this is fantasy. And there is a silhouette of two men behind her. And if this is not a love triangle, I don't know what is. I'm not crazy about love triangles, especially if it's the main plot point. Therefore, I'm going to shove it. Next up is A Psalm for the Wild Built, a monk and robot book by Becky Chambers. I don't know this author, but I think this is a funny premise, a monk and a robot. The cover is really cute. There is a robot. There is, I assume, a monk drinking some tea on looks like an old-fashioned carriage. I think this is intriguing enough that I am going to shelve it. Next up is Appleseed by Matt Bell. And it looks like there's some type of circuit board in the background with a apple with a tree growing on it. So it's a Johnny Appleseed virtual reality robot. I don't know. There's a bee in the circuit board. Not really speaking to me. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is We Have Always Been Here by Lena Wynn. And it's a pretty generic cover, I must say. It looks like the moon or maybe a different planet. I don't know if any idea what this is about. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Notes from the Burning Age by Claire North. And it has a vintage looking cover. I like sort of, what is it, the lithograph look with the flowers in reds and turquoise. I have no idea what this could be about. I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valente. And what a odd cover. It looks like the RED in red is made up of trash. It looks like a junkyard. There's old tires. It has a very graphic, cartoony look to it. I'm going to guess this is about some type of ecology or pollution science fiction. I do like it though. I am intrigued by this cover. I think I'm going to go ahead and shelve it. Now we move on to fantasy, and our first book is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And there is a sun on the cover, and I do like the artwork here. It looks like there is a line of knights with one general or focal knight in the foreground. Epic, tragic, and gorgeous. It will wreck you, and you will be grateful. Okay, I guess I'm going to shelve it. Next we have Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. The story of Camelot is hers. So it's a Arthurian retelling from a woman's point of view. No, I don't think I'm really into another Arthurian retelling. I think I will shove it. Next up is Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. And there is a woman on the cover. It's lots of blues and golds, and there is a dove in her hand. I mean, the artwork is pretty. It's nice artwork, but I'm getting very generic vibes from it. So I think I'm going to shove it. Next up is The Empire's Rune, Nothing Remains by Brian Staveley. There is a person on the cover that is in an action pose, probably a assassin or warrior. Not getting enough from this. I'm going to have to shove it. And finally, we have Red Wolf by Rachel Vincent. I'm getting Red Riding Hood from this. There's a woman in a red hood, and there's a cabin in the woods. I don't think I'm into this one. I'm going to have to shove it. So we have shelved one young adult, The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. We have shelved two science fiction, Psalm for the Wild, Monk and Robot book by Becky Chambers, and The Past is Red by Catherine Valente. And we have shelved one fantasy, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. So I'll be honest, there's just two books that are really speaking to me, and that is The Taking of Jake Livingston and A Psalm in the Wild built. So it's going to be between those two books. So am I in the mood for a young adult horror or a quirky science fiction? You know what? I can't decide. I think I'm going to go with both. I'm going to pick two books for this month. A Psalm in the Wild build and The Taking of Jake Livingston. Because I do really want a horror, but that quirky science fiction is really intriguing me. So let's look up both of these books. Okay, The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. Jake Livingston is one of the only black kids at St. Clair Prep, one of the others being his infinitely more popular older brother. It's hard enough fitting in, but to make matters worse and definitely more complicated, Jake can see the dead. In fact, he sees the dead around him all the time. Most are harmless, stuck in their death loops as they relive their deaths over and over. They don't interact often with people, but then Jake meets Sawyer, a troubled teen who shot and killed 6 kids at a local high school last year before taking his own life. Now, a powerful, vengeful ghost, he has plans for his afterlife, plans that include Jake. Suddenly, everything Jake knows about ghosts and the rules to life itself go out the window as Sawyer begins haunting him and bodies turn up in his neighborhood. High school soon becomes a survival game, one Jake is not sure he's going to win. Okay, this sounds spooky and interesting, and I am here for it, so we'll give The Taking of Jake Livingston a go. Now, next up is A Psalm for the Wild built. Okay, this says it's book 1, so I guess this is a series. Let's read what it's about. It's been centuries since the robots of Panga gained self-awareness and laid down their tools. Centuries since they wandered en masse into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot. Becky Chambers' new series asks, in a world where people have what they want, does having more matter? Okay, so this seems like it's going to be some type of psychological, spiritual science fiction book. I am very curious of what this one is going to read like, and I'm happy with picking 2 books for this Shelve It or Shove It. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.